Hello and welcome to the Bringing It Together video. I am Donna Jenkin and I will be sharing some perspectives and ideas for pre-service and beginning teachers to consider as they transition from university studies into employment. As we look at the timeline here, we can appreciate that over the 3 to 4 years of university studies, students develop into graduates, then ideally move into employment, and perhaps they may consider progressing their career even further. Throughout this journey, there are different expectations at different stages. Let's look at the point of graduation. There is an expectation that when a degree is completed, certain professional skills would have been developed. As an example, this is a list produced by CQ University that specifies the professional skills expected at a graduate level. These skills are specific to context. For example, the graduate communication skills of a teacher will differ from that of an engineer. The expectation here at this level is that graduates demonstrate complex and in-depth skills in each of these areas. Now, if we compare this to what is expected of teachers in employment, we can see there is a whole different set of expectations. As you can see in this framework from the Queensland College of Teachers, the professional standards encompass pedagogical skills, reflective practice and professional renewal, and connectedness within the school and wider community. Now, if we examine the transition from graduate to teacher, the one very important body that bridges the two is the employer. Employers have another set of seemingly different expectations again. Following a short survey of education employers, the following 3 key skills were identified as critical for beginning teachers. Time management, pedagogy, and behaviour management are said to underpin a beginning teacher's ability to exhibit the other expectations. Without pedagogy, time and behaviour management in check, it is difficult for a teacher to deliver the engaging lessons, support student and personal development, and so on in line with the other expectations. Of these 3 key skills, literature and the employers tell us behaviour management is widely the most difficult hurdle for beginning teachers. On that basis, let's spend some time engaging with behaviour management and operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a theory of behaviour developed by B.F. Skinner, based on the fact organisms respond to their environment in a particular way to obtain or avoid particular consequences. The illustration here shows a Skinner box which demonstrates this theory. A hungry rat is placed in the box and soon discovers if it presses the lever it is rewarded with food. The rat here adapts its behaviour to the conditions of receiving food. For example, if the food is only dispensed when the green light is on. If we examine the terminology of operant conditioning, the term operant can be related to operate and refers to how one operates in their environment. Now, the term conditioning refers to the building of improvement, which is reducing what is undesired and increasing what is desired. So, how is operant conditioning linked with behaviour management in the classroom? Let's consider what we know about behaviour. The definition of behaviour is the observable responses as reactions to the outer environment with little reference to the states of mind. Now, there are a couple of things to note about behaviour. Behaviour is only what we can see. For management purposes, it must be measurable. We can measure observations, but not what one is thinking, which is why the state of mind is excluded here. Now, behaviour is driven by an external stimulant which will trigger the actions or responses. For example, sitting quietly and listening. The external stimulant here would have been the teacher's directive to sit on the mat and look and listen. The response was the actions of the children, and the teacher can observe this behaviour. In this example, these children have been conditioned to automatically sit legs crossed, hands to themselves and attention to the teacher, which is great. Okay, the momentum of behaviour management in the classroom is geared toward building pleasant and desirable behaviours and decreasing disruptive or aversive behaviour, or in other terms, conditioning the students to behave in a manner conducive to learning. So how do we do this? The first thing to acknowledge is that each time a behaviour is exhibited, it is reinforced in some way which will either prompt the behaviour to be repeated or not. So if a person feels rewarded or gets enjoyment from their actions, they are likely to do them again. To have behaviour positively reinforced will result in the behaviour being added to one's repertoire. Negative reinforcement is deducting, or in other terms, unlearning the behaviour. So let's look at these reinforcement techniques. The two main categories of reinforcement techniques are recognition and reward, which, as a general rule, links with positive reinforcement, and punishment. Let's break these down further. Recognition and reward is regarded as the most highly effective way to positively reinforce behaviours. The simple act of acknowledgement can have a profound impact. For example, if you have a student who you know is easily distracted and finds it hard to focus on his own work, but you find him consciously putting effort into completing a certain task, you can celebrate his achievement with him and comment on how well he did to block out the distractions to make that achievement happen. In doing this, you are acknowledging his efforts. Giving praise. Now, giving praise is emotionally and cost-effective and arguably the most effective way to positively reinforce behaviours. Giving rewards is another commonly used technique in Australian classrooms. For younger students, a point system or token economy that results in a tangible reward works really well. But with older students, they tend to also respond to intangible rewards such as free time or own choice. Although the important thing to remember here is to know your own students, and involving students in the development of such reward systems is definitely recommended by experts. Okay, the next reinforcement technique is punishment. This can be broken down into three areas. Discipline reaction, timeout and extinction are effective ways of negatively reinforcing behaviours. Punishment can include the removal of a stimulus for the undesired behaviour, such as confiscating an item of distraction. Now, the act of removing an unwanted stimulus for a behaviour encourages the student to learn a new one. An example of discipline reaction might be moving a student who continues to talk or interfere with the peers. Timeout involves removing the student from a scenario where they're getting an opportunity to receive positive reinforcement for their aversive behaviour. It also gives them an opportunity to realign their emotions and think clearly again. Extinction is where any reinforcement of any kind is withheld. For example, ignoring or not responding to a behaviour at all. The key steps to negative reinforcement are to identify the aversive behaviour, and in doing this, consider what the stimulus is. This is important because there are times when human behaviour is not what it seems. For example, a student may engage in disruptive behaviour seemingly to receive attention from peers, but it could be actually to avoid undertaking a difficult worksheet. If you were to remove the student for being disruptive, You may intend to negatively reinforce this behaviour, but in fact, because the student achieves their desired outcome of avoiding work, it becomes positive reinforcement. However, once you have determined the behaviour and the stimulus, then you can establish appropriate negative reinforcement. If disciplinary action or extinction are used, it is really important not to engage in further discussion after it has been dealt with. For example, if a student uses inappropriate language as a result of frustration and the swearing behaviour is ignored, but then the student is given strategies to deal with the frustration, nothing further should be said about the swearing, as it has potential to cause embarrassment or emotional hurt to the student. It would not be necessary to do, as the stimulant here has already been removed. And we must mention at this point aggression. Aggression is to be avoided. Aggressive language, comments or gestures from the teacher have proven not to be an effective behaviour management technique. You may feel better momentarily, but it is not good professional practice and doesn't work. Okay, so for behaviour management and operant conditioning to be successful, it is important that teachers have clarity and structure around their pedagogy. It is also important to ensure positive reinforcement methods make up the majority of the conditioning techniques, and that these are being measured to achieve the desired change. Reflective practice is a vitally important component of teaching. When reflecting on behaviour management techniques, it is important for beginning teachers to recognise who is responding to which stimulant. Are the students responding to their teacher or the prescribed learning? Are the students responding to their peers? Or is the teacher responding to the students? The other critical reflection point is observing the actual effect. There may be times when the desired effect differs from the actual effect, and adjustments need to be made in these circumstances. So your reflection should serve as a tool to ensure that the behaviour reinforcement is effective, and also to assist in the improvement of your techniques, also to recognise positive reinforcement opportunities, and of course generally helping a beginning teacher to bring it all together. So we can see now that how behaviour management skills tie into the transition from graduate studies to employment,